Like to ask Emma, could you please share with us how you became interested in your research topic?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago when I started at CSUB, I took a class called Science, Medicine, and Empire with Dr. Lomeli, and it was there that I really became interested in medical and scientific history. And this semester is my first semester in the grad program, and I am taking Dr. Lomeli's course again, one of her graduate courses this semester. And in the archives on our first day of class, she mentioned a project on mental illness might be interesting. And I've struggled with mental illness, as everyone probably has, but I've struggled in the past as well. And I really thought that it would be interesting to look at it from a historical perspective. And I ended up finding this journal article on Mr. G that this man, William Noyes, wrote in 1888 that really just stood out to me and was really interesting. And I decided to do a deep dive into this.
Awesome. And if you could, just please share with us, how would you hope to contribute to the extent research and literature on your research topic?
So the evidence of illness that I'm looking at, which is really a lot of social and a little bit of physical, it seems to be kind of a stepping stone in a lot of the secondary sources that I'm reading. So a lot of historians have acknowledged that it exists, but they haven't really explored it. So I really want to sort of develop that stepping stone. That way, it kind of serves as just help in a lot of other historians' work they've already done. I know it sounds kind of backwards, but it's not denied that these evidences exist. It's just not something that's been explored. So I just want to sort of help other historians and explore an avenue that hasn't seemingly had the attention it might deserve.
Please share with us how you became interested in your research topic.
I had been working with Dr. Stokes on a previous project looking at TTX, quantifying levels in newts. So I had become familiar with the method already. And then when I heard about these leeches that Dr. Stokes had, and I just thought, looking at the pictures, the mimicry is just super cool. And I really wanted to find out if they had TTX.
Wait, are we saying Dr. Stokes keeps these things on campus?
No, not anymore.
Okay. And then if you could just share with us, how do you hope to contribute to the extent research and literature on your research topic?
So there's a lot of literature out there right now on TTX, mostly having to do with newts, and pufferfish also have TTX. So there's a lot out there, but what's not out there right now is that these leeches have TTX. So that has not been published at all. So we're hoping to get that published.
Could you share with us why you became interested in your research topic?
I've always wanted to work with performance enhancement or improving any kind of performance. And I came across with Dr. Kim's project, and that's how I got involved, because this is relating to the cardiovascular function improvement following alternative intervention. Not necessarily, ideally, you have to exercise to improve performance. We can use alternative interventions as well.
Please share with us how you hope that your research will contribute to the extent literature and research on your research topic.
Yes. So currently, RIPC is used usually in the acute phase. So our study is chronic. So there's few studies studying chronic effects of RIPC on other measures. And arterial stiffness measured by the pulse width velocity has never been measured before. So this could potentially, majority, our plan is to, apply this in clinical settings where people have low mobility. But however, this can be applied to anyone who wants to improve their blood pressure as well as their arterial stiffness.
But with that said, Mario, can you share a little bit about why you became interested in your research topic?
So I work as a biologist normally, and I've been volunteering with a land management trust. And I've always wanted to be a generalist, and I normally work with small mammals, but when they told me that they had entomologists looking at a fly, I thought, can I help? And they let me help. And over the past 3 years of talking to them, I find out that entomologists in general are a dying field, and they're getting older because aside from me, the second youngest is 70. So they said after 3 years, I'm already the next expert in line for this fly. So I figured, okay, might as well do it for my master's and find out what else more is left to learn about that. And also the preserve itself, which is, as you saw, the last of its kind in the valley.
And can you share a little bit about how you hope to contribute to the extent research and literature as it applies to your research topic?
So with this fly, it's often considered a surrogate of another fly, which I mentioned also in the sand dunes in Riverside, and that's fairly endangered, but we know almost nothing about the entire genus of this fly. But you can't do a lot of this research with that fly because it's already listed. So by me working with this fly, I can hopefully not only help this preserve that's local to me, but also help other areas that are experiencing the same situation and provide a management plan so that the federal government can actually know what the next step is to restore the habitat and restore the population of this fly. And hopefully that can go anywhere else that has sand or other systems where we can figure out, okay, maybe we should do large scale treatments over the vegetation instead of just target the one species in general.
Okay, Jonathan, with that said, please share us a little bit about why you became interested in your research topic.
So I've always been a person who, growing up, we went camping a lot and we went fishing a lot. And if anybody here has ever gone fishing, they know that sitting around is 95% of it. When you're sitting around water for a long time, you start thinking about how it works and, the aspects of everything. And that's just always fascinated me. So this is right up my alley of interests.
How you plan to contribute to the extent research and literature on your research topic?
Leaf litter experiments are pretty common in aquatic ecology. But despite tree of heaven being an invasive species that's all over the country and all over the world, I only have found like 3 or 4 other papers actually studying it and how it decomposes in aquatic ecosystems. So this is going to be, hopefully be adding to that and the importance of kind of how we can handle this invasive species that's everywhere.
If you could just share a little bit about how you became interested in your research topic.
So I actually became interested in my research topic just based off experience that my family has. My family has a lot of different allergies and a lot of different medical restrictions, such as like gluten intolerance, diabetes, high blood pressure. So I came up with this app concept to solve the solution because there are a lot of apps out there where they'll address one specific health issue. But the problem with this is patients are very custom and each patient has different needs. So this way we'll combine all of the diets together and it will hopefully create a lot of stress off of them by combining all their diets together to create recipes for them. And this will hopefully not take up as much time and be time consuming for them.
In addition to the app, what do you hope to contribute to the extent literature and research as it applies to your topic?
This is the beginning research that I did before I started my thesis to make sure that it was a credible topic to choose. So what I'm going to do for as I continue on for my thesis is I'm going to actually create a project management handbook of using these 5 phases step by step, everything that will need to be completed to create this app in a real life solution. So I would be creating a budget, creating project charter, scope, just everything you can think of, ensuring a quality plan, a risk management plan. So just going through all those phases and including everything in them.
Please share with us how you became interested in your research topic.
In my undergrad, I took a class with Dr. Pratt called Terrestrial Ecosystem Ecology. And that class talks about the different ecosystems on Earth and how they come to be the way they are. Like, why is the rainforest the way it is versus the desert the way it is? And so I really like the idea of the changing ecosystems over time, especially with the here and now of climate change. You hear headlines all the time about the rainforests in Brazil or in California. We have lots and lots of fire and in our long, hot summers.
And then how do you hope to contribute your research to the extent research and literature that's out there?
Chaparral restoration in particular is sort of in its infancy, where we know a lot about the mechanisms that are causing type conversion to happen, but we're not too sure on what we can do to restore the chaparral. So my research will provide a method that can or cannot restore it. It's part of science is that even if all my plants die, that's a great indicator that whatever it is I'm working on isn't the path to go to. So that's what it will contribute.
Please share with us how you became interested in your research topic.
This is definitely near and dear to my heart. I am a mom. I'm actually pregnant with my second. I've been pregnant 5 times. I've had 3 miscarriages. So I've basically had pregnancy brain for the better part of the last decade. And I can tell you anecdotally that exercise has been very beneficial to me, but who knows if that's placebo effect or what. So I want to know if it's true, and I want to know if research supports it. So that's what I'm here to do.
Tell us how you hope to contribute to the extent research and literature on your research topic.
Like I said in my presentation, there's extensive research that shows the benefits of exercise for pregnancy, but that's actually a fairly new phenomenon. But back in the day, pregnant people weren't even encouraged to exercise. So there's very little research done on the effects of exercise during pregnancy. So I'm hoping to open up that field a little bit.
A little bit about how you became interested in your research area.
I started the thesis program, and Dr. Stokes, my advisor, she just gave me a bunch of different topics to look at. And one of the papers that she presented to me was published in 2020, and it was on biofluorescence in salamander species. And so we were reading through it. I found that it was very interesting. I thought it was very cool. And it wasn't until last semester when I took a conservation class with Dr. Hall that I realized that understanding how organisms communicate with one another can really just help us understand how these environments all work together. Because when you have an environment, it's not just one species alone, it's multiple species interacting, and they're they have a big impact on the environment. So if we learn how the newts communicate with one another, then maybe we can help understand how important they are to the environment that they live in, to the predators that feed on them, to the organisms that they eat. So it's all very interconnected and, very fragile. So it's important that we do research and to understand this.
Yeah, and I know you said some of your work so far did not work. But as somebody said earlier, we learned from that as well. I was impressed that you and some of your colleagues fabricated the big Y piece. And, speaking of, my grandma was a Rosie the Riveter. So when I hear anybody talking about riveting anything, I think of her. But I thought that was great, and I love the image of it. Could you share how you hope to contribute to the extent research and literature on your research topic?
Like I mentioned, that paper that I looked at was recently published in 2020, and it was talking about biofluorescence in salamander species, just talking about how these salamanders have biofluorescence, not really talking about the why, the how they have biofluorescence. And so what I'm aiming to do with my research is to lend some more clarity to that, to figure out, okay, well, are they using it to communicate with one another? Are they using it as a supplement to communicate to predators that they are toxic because the newts are toxic? why are they using this mechanism? It's important, or else they wouldn't have it, right? So that's how my research would be contributing to the current research that exists.
Can you share a little bit about how you became interested in this research topic?
I've had my own body image and weight loss journey, and I noticed my peers at the gym, but my peers at the gym being men, and how sometimes we would talk, like I don't normally talk to people in the gym, but sometimes people would be like, hey, because I would wear my Navy shirt or something like that. And so it came across that the guy that I was talking to was also having the same issue. He was very like muscular, and he was like, man, I need to lose more weight. And I'm like looking at this dude, and he's pretty muscled. And I was like, wow, okay, so men also have this issue.
If you could just share with us, how do you hope to use your research to contribute to the extent literature and research that's out there?
Because a lot of people just assume that men just want to get buff. There's also the type of people that, so there's a lot of things actually, but the majority, it's because a lot of the research and a lot of the, like when you look at like manuals for eating disorders, it's all based on women, not so much based on men. And the influences that women have are different than men. And men's isn't researched as much. And there's a whole lot of things, and it's more silent than it is women. So that's where I'm hoping that with this research, I can find those silent key points that men have that can contribute to a better therapy with eating disorders for men.